I'm just going to put this back here, and we will go ahead and get started. So I know last time that we met, we planned to reteach, and as I was thinking about it, we planned to reteach for this Thursday when they already would have learned the standard algorithm. So that wasn't a great idea.
But
so,
I will say it was beneficial because that way is the hardest way to do it. I mean, the double digits by double digits. So then re-seeing it again, broken down into expanded form like that, still helped.
Great.
I mean, the exit scores were
not
still,
great.
Right, but it was better.
Good. Well, fortunately today we're going to be diving into a similar area, but I do want to start with the success and just name that last week we had 35% mastery in our quiz, and this week we had, I think, like 65% mastery, which is so much better. So talk to me, like, what are some things that you did this week or in the past week that you think improved mastery on the quiz? Yep. Good. So tell me some unique ways. Yeah, tell me some of the unique things you did to like get them more at bats.
I did the homework. I did the word problems as fire review. I added extra questions as fire review. Like some things they got they were going to do fast, and so I was like, "Well, here's another problem. Let's do this problem. Do this problem."
Yep.
They got extra time. I said, "Make up some of your own. Do this."
Good.
Just the same thing over and over.
Great. Well, it's good to see that it's having an impact, and then we should remember that the next time that we see a gap that we can be closed, we can be creative in the way that we get kids more at-bats, which is awesome. So kudos to you. It was really awesome to see that the quiz data is now keeping up with the exit ticket data, which is what I was hoping would happen. So today, we're actually going to be diving into question number 7 from last week's quiz, which was the lowest question. It was the standard algorithm question. There was a mastery of 61%, and so we're going to dive right in and start by looking at the standard. Fortunately, you and I broke down the standard last week, so no reason doing the same work over again. I captured our notes from last time, and so this packet's going to be yours, and wanted you to just first take about 30 seconds to study what do scholars need to know and show in order to master this standard, and then see is there anything that you would add from our notes from last time, okay? Take just 30 seconds, see if there's anything you would add. Okay, looks like you added a note. What did you add?
Just saying it represented
Oh, so in the standard algorithm, you mean? Okay, so I will note that as well. You said represent. Got it. By adding a 0 to algorithm. All right, awesome. Yeah, overall, I think we did really good work breaking it down last time. So let's take a look at some work. So here's a teacher exemplar, just my exemplar as I was looking through it. And I want us to take a look at it. This was question 7, 63 times 27. And what evidence of standard mastery do we see in this work? Yep. Good. How do you see that? Where do you see that in the work? Yeah.
Added it in because 6 times 7 is 42. They got 44, so that must have been they added 2.
Yep.
They crossed it out, so they know they used it, and then added the 5 answers.
Good. The only other thing I would add was clear understanding of place value. So we're aligning the numbers in the algorithm where 10s and 10s are aligned. We see a 0 here to note that we're multiplying by 10s in the second column. We're aligning hundreds or thousands, hundreds, 10s, and 1s when we're adding. So all things that we see. Okay, great. Now let's take a look at the student exemplar. First, kudos for having scholars organize their work. This is so great. Let's keep it up. So much better, right? So let's take a look at the student exemplar. My question for you is, what, if any, gaps do you see between the teacher exemplar and the student exemplar? Yeah, the only 2 things that I would note was they didn't add like an addition symbol, so just reminding themselves that they're adding. And then I see that this, the teacher circled number 2, They just crossed it off, but those are the other two things that I saw. Okay, cool. Let's dive into some of our mediums. So I have, I think 5 of them. Let me see. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes thinking about question 7. You're going to be thinking, what is the gap between what you're seeing in the mediums and the student exemplar? 2 minutes. Be ready to share. Yep. All right, it looks like you on patterns. What errors or what gaps do you notice between the mediums and the student exemplar?
Correctly, but they didn't cross out the number they were grouped, so they added it in twice.
Okay.
These 2 friends didn't add the regroup number back into the answer.
Great. So then as we think about the key error, what's the key error that we see among all the work?
Regroup.
Good. Yeah, specifically what are scholars not doing?
Either they're not adding it or not crossing it out.
Great. Let's take a look at some lows, just so we have a good pulse on where some of our lowest scholars are. So here are 3 examples of lows. Again, we're thinking, what's the gap between the lows and the student exemplar?
Send you a copy. Surely do. What's up? We still have everything. Oh my God! I can't believe that I can't. Are you in the other office? Yeah,
Oh my God, that was on channel 10, so we all heard it too. Miss Taylor's sitting right here.
Just come and check in with you real quick. I'm so sorry.
All right, so what did you notice among our lowest scholars?
Multiplication.
Yeah.
Multiplying.
Good. So good to keep a pulse on that, because you still have some scholars who are making some very simple mistakes. Not worth a reteach, but good for us to have a pulse on that so that we can be checking it for these low scholars. So let's think now, as we're thinking about, again, the key student error that we want to address their reteach, the highest leverage one, is we want to be thinking about our almost masters. What's going to get them to master? So tell me again what, and let's write it down on the bottom. What is our key student error? Students did not what?
Either they did not add in the regroup number or they added it 2 times.
Yeah, the way that I was thinking about this is like students did not add the regrouped numbers once and only once, right? Because either they forgot to or they added it twice. So let's write that down. Students did not add the regrouped numbers once and only once. Okay, great. So let's think about reteach. As we think about this reteach, what method do we think makes more sense? Guided discourse or model?
Guided discourse.
Why?
Because it's a small error
Mm-hmm.
for just making my mistake.
Yep.
Just knowing, or just being able to see, like, they got this answer because they crossed this out, or they got this answer because they added this in.
Great. I mean, the other piece to add is we do have some clear exemplars that we can also demonstrate to scholars. So now what we're going to do is we're going to plan our reteach. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to give you some time to plan it, and then I'm going to plan at the same time, and then we'll compare scripts.
Okay.
Two ways that you can do this. One, I have a blank template that if you prefer to write your reteach in, you can write it in one of these blank templates, or I shared you on a doc that has the blank template if you prefer to type.
Okay.
What would you prefer to do?
All right.
Okay, cool. The only other piece that I forgot to add was I went ahead and created an exit ticket and just some practice problems. The good thing is I think we're clear on the exemplar given that it's just multiplication, right? Okay, cool. So I'm going to give you 4 minutes. If you want to find the template that says guided discourse, I think that'll be most helpful to you. You got it? Most helpful as you're planning it out. I'm going to give you 4 minutes. After 4 minutes, I'll share you on my script and we'll do some applying, okay? All right, 4 minutes, go. Mhm. All right, so it sounds like we got to a pretty good spot. What I'm gonna do is now we're going to do some trading. So I have my script right here. So you can just read from top to bottom. I'm gonna look at yours, and then we're gonna be thinking, what would we add to ours from each other's? Okay. So I'm gonna just take this. You can take a look at this. I'm gonna put a minute on the clock, and then we'll share. Okay, let's go ahead and pause. I'm gonna trade back again. What, if anything, did you like from mine that you'd want to add to your own?
I like that you used 3 scholars.
Why?
Because you were able to address both errors at once. I was kind of like, I guess that's why I look back at it, I'm like, which one should I do more to try to pick one? But I like the idea of showing both at the same time.
Why do you think in the script that I put, I didn't put a scholar who got it right and a scholar who got it wrong? Why do you think I felt comfortable like just quickly showing 2 scholars who got it wrong?
Because it's a mistake that they should be able to clear. It's not a big grand thing. Like for the most part, they get it. So it wouldn't be a hard thing for them to find right away.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's no, like the exemplar they should know, right? Like the exemplar they've seen so many times before. It's really about pinpointing exactly what error they might make.
Yeah.
Anything else from the script that you like?
Turn and talk.
Okay, great. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put another 3 minutes on the clock. I'm going to leave this here, and then either I have another template if you'd like to adjust on it, or if you want to go straight into typing, you should feel free to do so. I'm also happy, what would be most helpful in the next 3 minutes for you to take what we've learned? Okay, cool. So I'm going to give this to you again, just in case you want to reference it. And take 3 minutes to capture a script. Just know that we're going to be practicing after this, so whatever you need in order to practice it and to remember it when you actually have to teach it. Okay. 3 minutes, go.
After going through charting the big idea and everything.
Yeah, I see where you're going though as well. So what I did is I did what's the error? What's the error?
Uh-huh.
What do we know about when we multiply? And then I stamped it, and then I said, great, now let's think about how we would fix these errors. Here's an exemplar. What did you notice that they did? However, I think where you're going is fine too, where you say, here's A, what mistake did they make?
Mm-hmm.
Great. What would they do to fix it? What mistake did they make for B? What would they need to do to fix it? I think either one would work. I think you have to just, I think the benefit of this one is that scholars see an exemplar and it's easier for them to pull it. If scholars already know a strategy to do that and you've already taught it to them, they can just recall their memory.
Okay.
So what do you think what do you think makes the most sense?
I think they will be able to answer this. So I think I want to leave this, but I still want them to go through it.
So here's what my recommendation would be is I would start, if you want to do it in that order, I would start by saying, what was the mistake for scholar A? What was the mistake for scholar B? What's our big idea? Now let's go back to scholar A and go back to scholar B and figure out what tips would we give them so that they don't do it anymore.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that it's like, let's stamp the big idea. Now let's go back and use our big idea to remind us how not to do that anymore.
Okay.
So why don't you take another minute to capture those thoughts? Okay, so just as I'm thinking for the anchor chart, because I think this is a little bit of a complicated anchor chart, I was thinking you could make it look like this, where we post A, we post B, we stamp the big idea, and then on the bottom, we just like list the strategies or something. So it's all in one place.
Okay.
Does that feel right to you?
Yes.
Or we can organize it somewhere different and like, you could do the big idea at the bottom and then you could, I don't know. What do you think? What makes the most sense to you?
No, I think this is fine.
Okay. Okay, cool. So now we're going to practice. We won't chart right now. I'll let you prep your chart in a second, but we'll imagine that we are charting. Okay, cool. So why don't you stand up at the board, bring your script. Okay. And let's remember we're going to start with, we're almost at mastery. Here's one small fix we need to make. Let's get them pumped up to nail it. And you can just point to the board and imagine that we're pointing to a chart.
Scholars, we've been working on double-digit multiplication, and although it was difficult for us in the beginning, we are almost to the point where we got it. Say, way to go, us.
Way to go, us.
Nice. There's only 2 mistakes, small mistakes that we've been making. So let's look up front. Look at scholar.
Good. Let's pause right there. Let's add something to like get them excited. So let's either think, you guys gonna get tricked? Like whatever. I like your sense of humor. Like it's pretty good. Like cold call a scholar. We're gonna let these 2 problems stop us? No. Everyone say, oh no, or something like that. Whatever.
Alright, so we're gonna fix these 2 errors and we're gonna move on. You wanna be tricked? I don't wanna be tricked.
I won't get tricked.
You wanna be tricked?
No.
Great. Let's see. Look at scholar A. Scholar A and scholar B solve 63 times 27. Scholar A has the final answer of 1,721. Scholar B has the final answer of 1,921. Oh, I should have another wrong answer. That's which one. Okay.
So let's do that one again. So I would say you can post it. We're going to be talking about scholar A and scholar B. Both made a mistake. First was only at scholar A. What mistake did scholar A make?
So tell them that both of them.
Yeah, just name it. They're going to be looking for a mistake. Otherwise, they're going to be searching for a long time trying to do the math in their head.
Yeah, okay, I was thinking it. Okay, great. So we're looking at 2 scholars. Both of these scholars made a mistake. I want you to look at the work that scholar A did and the work that scholar B did to figure out what mistakes did they make. You're getting ready to turn and talk
So
to your
let's do one at a time,
One at a
because I
time.
think you can focus.
Okay.
So we're going to be talking about scholar A and scholar B. Both made a mistake. Let's start with scholar A. Look at scholar A. What mistake did scholar A make? Turn and tell your partner.
Okay.
So let's start with scholar A.
Alright, let's start with scholar A. Scholar A made a mistake. I want you to think about what mistake scholar A made. You're getting ready to turn and talk to your partner about it. You ready? Go. Back to me, 3, 2, 1, 0. What mistake did scholar A make? Yes.
Scholar A added the 2 times. They added it to on the first one, and then they added it again when they had 12, and they made it 14.
Awesome. Now let's look at scholar B. What mistake did scholar B make? You ready? Turn and talk to your neighbor. Go. 3, 2, 1. What mistake did scholar B make?
They put the 2 on top, but when they did 6 times 7, they got 42, but they forgot to add the 2 to make it 44.
Awesome. So scholar A ended up adding twice, and scholar B didn't add the regroup number at all. Now, what is something, if I give you the sentence starter, when we regroup, how would you finish that sentence for us to remember the key thing when we're multiplying numbers?
Good. So let's rephrase that to, let's think about what we know when we regroup numbers.
Okay.
What do we know about multiplication when we regroup numbers? What do we know about multiplication when we regroup numbers? Finish this sentence for me. When we regroup, we.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's think about what do we know about multiplication when we regroup numbers and finish this sentence. When we regroup, yes.
We don't forget to add.
Not just not forget to add, think about the other mistake that was made. They also forgot and added twice. So what else do we need to remember? Yes.
We don't forget to add, and we only add once.
We add once and once only.
Once and once only.
So when we regroup, we
add once and once only.
Great. Now,
Good.
what advice?
So for there. Good. I like that you got the answers for them, and then you just rephrase them. That's fine because they got the idea. You're just putting it in safety language. So just name. Good. The way we're going to say it is when we regroup, we add once and only once. Let me write that. So let's imagine the scholar just gave you both parts of it, and you're putting it back into your own words.
Okay, great. That covers both parts. So now we want to say it as when we regroup, we regroup once, and we add. When we regroup, we add once and once only. Once
and once only.
Great. Let me write that. Now, what advice can we give these scholars to help them fix these problems?
So let's point them. Let's start with scholar A.
Start with scholar A. Scholar A, they added twice. What could scholar A do to make sure they don't add that number twice? Yes.
They need to cross out their number so that they know they already used it.
Right. So once you add it, you cross it out. You
cross it out.
Look at scholar B.
And I would even just say, let me chart that. Let me just show that strategy so we don't forget.
Okay. Great. Okay. So they need to cross it out. Let's show that now here. Who forever added it and cross it out.
Yep.
Look at scholar B. They make the mistake of not adding the number at all. What advice can we give scholar B to make sure they added in the number? Yes. They
can circle it so they don't forget that it's there.
Great. So let's show that. Let's look at the problem down here. We're going to circle the number 2 as we're adding it so I know I added it in.
Good. So then I think one last thing you should do is just stamp it. So scholars, to avoid this mistake, we're going to circle and cross. Circle and cross.
Okay.
Like that. Do that.
So in order to make sure we don't make these mistakes anymore, we're going to circle the number to add it in and cross it out to show that we did it. So we'll circle and cross. Circle and
cross. All right, let's see. Cool. Let's come on back. Nice job. So, want to talk about a few final steps. Let's talk about first. I don't think this requires our whole lesson. Do you agree?
no.
Okay. So when are we going to do this reteach?
The it's only a tough question because division with recruitment, division with area model has been a lot.
Mhm.
Um,
So on Thursday, what are we doing? Do you have a reteach plan for Thursday?
No.
Okay. Oh, sorry, is there not a reteach on Thursday this week?
no, they got on Friday.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And then, I guess the last time we did Thursday, we took out fire reviews. I guess I can take out fire review.
Okay. Okay, so we'll do it on Thursday. I'd ask that in the active ticket tracker, just like I did last time, add a column and just put that it's a reteach.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
The last thing that I did that I want to start pushing us to do, because I think it's going to make a big impact, is in the end, the last part of your packet, I actually just pulled the name of the scholars who didn't master it. So how would you imagine you might use these notes?
These would be the first scholars that I go to during the reteach once they're working on their own, and the scholars that I'm doing cold calls on while I'm teaching.
Great. So I also, the next time that we sit down, I'm going to show you how I pulled these names so that they're easy, because I had to click a few buttons to do it. Cool? Okay, great. I'm excited to see it in action.
Sorry.
Who didn't master question 7. Didn't master question 7. So I pulled them specifically, and there's not that many, which is exciting. Cool. All right. Thanks, Ms. Taylor.
Thank you.
And then I printed all of these materials. They're just on the copier. So I'm going to run and get, I hope this works. It's literally just 4 questions, and I have 2 questions in the back part. So I'll bring those to you so you have them.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, right? Then you just have one piece of paper. And if I have 2 problems, is enough, right?
Yeah.
And then I also, I love the work. The work was so much